Hi everyone, welcome to Just Stripper Things. Today I will be talking about a rather heavy subject, so trigger warning for childhood abuse and victim blaming, so take care of yourselves and sit this one out if you need to. Your mental health is important to us. These are my experiences and thoughts on the matter. They may be similar to other sex workers' opinions and experiences, but keep in mind that we are individuals, so what I say is not the end-all be-all. If you have ever seen a discussion of the sex industry, and specifically women in the sex industry, you will probably already be aware that there is a prevalent stereotype that all or most sex workers are in the industry because of abuse we have suffered. Whether it be childhood abuse or sexual abuse, it's usually believed to be one or the other, or even both. Here's the thing. Depending on the study and on the racial marginalization of the study subjects, anywhere from 1 in 4 to 1 in 3 women have been victims of sexual abuse. Statistics on childhood abuse are a little bit more convoluted, so here's some that I found.
Women experience emotional abuse at a rate of 13.1%, physical abuse at 27%, sexual abuse at 24.7%. Men experience emotional abuse at a rate of 7.6%, physical abuse at 29.9%, and sexual abuse at 16%. At least 1 in 7 children have experienced child abuse and/or neglect in the past year. Children living in poverty experience rates that are 5 times higher than in families with higher socioeconomic status. A study in Ontario found that 21% of women and 31% of men experienced physical abuse during childhood.
So, not all abuse survivors are sex workers. Painting us with this brush is damaging in so many ways, and for me personally, it made me stay silent for too long about my own childhood abuse experience because I was so afraid of perpetuating a harmful stereotype. Not only does the stereotype silence survivors, it also rests on the assumption that survivors are robbed of their autonomy and decision-making abilities by our trauma. Then there is the illusion of choice. We are constantly told that our jobs are a choice, that we choose to be in certain professions, when in fact, these choices often are merely byproducts of circumstance. While my peers were thinking about college, I was talking myself out of committing suicide. While my peers were applying to college, I was teetering on the edge of homelessness. So, while I did a fair amount of research and planning before I started dancing, I may not have had to make that choice if my circumstances were different. This doesn't mean that my trauma made me get into the industry, but my circumstances put me in a position where it was the best option. My living situation was precarious at the time. I was sleeping on the floor of my friend's bachelor suite. Dancing naked for a living helped me meet my roommate and allowed me to finally have a real home. But it took several years after I stopped dancing to really talk about my childhood abuse, because I didn't want to be the stereotype. Now, I do speak about it because I think it's important. Childhood abuse is severely underreported. We are told that it's a family matter, private, because that keeps us from holding abusers accountable. So yeah, as a teenager, I was abused physically, emotionally, and psychologically by my father. One time, it got so bad that the neighbors called the cops. Blah, blah, blah. I gave a statement. My mom dragged me to the lawyer's office to change my statement because my parents claimed I over-exaggerated. And honestly, she was afraid of raising me on her own. She was afraid because they had a joint banking account and all this crap that later was still an issue when she kicked him out after he turned abusive on her. You know, after I left and he couldn't abuse me anymore, he had to put it on someone else. I sadly was not surprised. Anyway, so there's 16-year-old me with my mom pressuring me, the lawyer staring at me with a blank face, reading over my statement on how my father threw me out of my computer chair, tried to push me down the stairs, how I was cowering in a protective little ball, protecting my face with my forearms as he kept swinging, how it all escalated and finally stopped with him holding a dining room chair over his shoulder. The moment stretched forever, and something changed in that moment when it could have gone either way. I could be alive, I could be dead, and he put the chair down. He stopped as my mom continued to wash the dishes. I read it all very carefully. This is what happened. I'm not changing it. Says 16-year-old me, triggered as fuck, because I just had to read my statement that detailed my abuse in my own words. Oh, God. And I know that there's a certain type of codependency and a fear that led to my mother protecting him back then. And yeah, it's hard. It's fucking hard. It's so hard to deal with because she passed away when I was 20. And one of the last times when I saw her at the hospital before she passed away, she had lost a lot of her ability to communicate. The tumor that she had affected the language center in her brain. So it was really hard for her to talk. And she took my hand and she gave me this look, this really emotional, charged look. And all she could say was, "I'm sorry." My father, on the other hand, has been stalking my social media for years and trying to troll me and trying to still abuse, control, and instill fear in me. But here's the fun thing is he can't control me anymore. He can't silence me anymore. He can't hit me anymore. He can't do shit. So all of that anger, that's just his to deal with. And yeah, I mean, it's not the best case scenario to be going through this, but the part where he can't anymore, that part is pretty good. Even so, it took me almost a decade to truly believe that it wasn't my fault. As much as my friends told me, as much as one of the police officers on the scene told me. And when the police officer did basically sit me down and went very, very much tried to instill it in me, it's not your fault. It takes a long time to believe that sometimes. So, to all of you who are survivors, it wasn't your fault. You may hear this 100 times before you really believe it. But hopefully one day you will let yourself believe it. All of that culminated in a peace bond that did shit all. So one night when my parents were at work, my friends helped me pack my stuff into a friend's truck and I left. Unfortunately, things always fell through. I ran out of places to stay and I ended up back home. Rinse, repeat. rinse, repeat. 4 years of that over and over. 4 years of attempts to get help, only for counselors and family services people to let me down. I was once told that since there was a peace bond, I wasn't living in a hostile environment and I couldn't get the help I desperately needed. Another time, a family services worker canceled a meeting because my parents told her that I didn't want it. I wasn't even living with them, let alone speaking with them. She did not speak to me, and that's when I just gave up. Going from couch to couch, place to place, until I ran out of options, time and again, move out, go back out of desperation. When I was 19, my mom called me once to tell me, "He's gone, you can come back." Because she finally kicked my father out after he turned his abuse on her. But our relationship at this point was far too damaged, and I left again. So that's how I ended up on my friend's floor. I will always hold my father accountable for what he did to me and my mother. But he will not get the credit for making me the person I am today. I did that. I survived how I could, recovered as well as I could. I am who I am because of me. Thanks, everyone. If you watched this whole thing, I'm sorry if it was hard to watch. It wasn't the easiest to make, obviously, but I appreciate everyone's support. Mwah! Love ya. Hopefully see you next time for something less horrifically depressing. Hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, do what you want. Bye.